turn on, goddamn!
Hey, hello, how do you do, everyone? Star Easy here. Today we are talking about the Dormant Splinter, or I guess the Obsidian Witherblade? I don't really know what I want to talk about specifically. Well, okay, I do know, but I don't know what to call this. I want to talk about the actual hunt for this weapon. Now, originally, this video was going to be talking about the actual hunt for the weapon, because I think that's one of Deepwoken's strong points, when they add mysteries like this, like secretly add in oaths, or secretly add in something, but don't give us any information as to what it could be, so the community has to solve it. And you know, usually we solve it in like 2 to 3 days, and it's a fun experience. This took 2 to 3 weeks, and instead of it being some masterfully calculated mystery, it just wasn't handled the best. So I do want to talk about that, and before we get into it, I just want to point out one thing. I do not think this was bad, or I don't want to think the developers purposefully lied when creating this. Not saying they specifically lied about everything, but, you know. Anyways. So, a couple updates ago, I want to say like 1-2 updates ago, we got a new secret relic added to the game that was actually a weapon that was pretty interesting. Because it was shit. It was the Dormant Splinter, and this weapon absolutely sucked. It had the lowest damage in the game, a critical that is really hard to hit, like literally the wiki said you had to run in order to hit it, which is not true. In order to hit it, you have to frickin' just have the enemy's hitbox literally inside your player in order for it to hit. So, yeah, it was a really odd weapon, and it was very obvious. This is a mystery. Because the Dormant Splinter's description also hinted towards that. Because its whole thing was like, it's looking for a proper match to mix and meld with. So, this is something big, this is something interesting, and the whole community was on board trying to figure out, what is this weapon? What could it be? What could be done to awaken this weapon? And the developer said, hey guys, listen, so this weapon can't be awakened or evolved or something like that. And I'll get onto it in a second, because that is something to keep in mind. But, anyways, so people are like looking everywhere for how to like awaken this weapon. Does it need something? Do we need to craft it with something? Is there something specific we need to interact with? And Natoons, the developer of the weapon, actually said we need to find the Cold Forge. And this is where I think the first flaw of the weapon came up. Like, this is the first thing that went wrong. The weapon wasn't completable in the update it was released. The Cold Forge was not in the game at the time. So there was no real way of knowing, like, how to make the weapon. And even if we were close, like Natoon said, like maybe someone found the recipe but just like didn't use it in the right area, since, you know, the area didn't exist in the game yet. Again, there was just no freaking way of knowing, nor figure it out if like we actually solved the puzzle, because like the Cold Forge wasn't in the game yet. And that's what I think is the first problem, is like, they said this was solvable, right? They said we could solve this, or like people were really close. They hinted at that. So people are just thinking, oh, Deepwoken's farming that premium player time, which is not hard to believe, just because how this mystery was handled. Anyways, so later on the Cold Forge did get added, people figured out about that, people got a little upset. And I feel like the whole upset part could have just been solved by, hey guys, don't hunt for the weapon, was instead said like, hey guys, don't hunt for the weapon right now because the mystery isn't solvable yet. It'll be solvable in the next update. If like the developers were transparent and just said something like that, I feel like that a lot of drama and conflict would have been pushed aside. And they also said in the next update, there'd be a book added to the game alongside the Cold Forge that would, well, help us solve the mystery. And that book was actually the Cold Heart Journal. The Cold Heart Journal. The Cold Heart Journal is linked to Fortibras, and basically what it talks about is Coldheart conducting many different experiments in order to bring back his dead wife, Deirdre. Now, what is the hint in this book? Well, to be fair, I'm pretty sure the hint in this book is, it's basically saying we need a Dormant Splinter. That's it. And there was no clear way of like saying, hey, we need to craft in here, or hey, there's something specific we need to do in here, because to an extent, it just looked like the book was in here and that's it. We need the Cold Forge. What did we need the Cold Forge for? Oh, there's a book in here that tells us we need a Dormant Splinter. Great, we're right where you left off. Hell, the entire point of the book, the entire story is like saying, oh, Deirdre, you die, and you are within the Cold Forge, and we're gonna find a way to mix your soul into a weapon. Also, something about Umbral, and it's just like, oh, hey, the Dormant Splinter is made with Umbral, sure, why not? And this is where I think the second and most critical mistake of the hunt was made. The hints were not clear enough. Like, yes, I understand the tunes, and I understand Archmage, that we're at the final step. We have everything we need. The only problem is, everything we need is not clear as to what we need to do. What they essentially did is, they gave us a white puzzle with evenly shaped square pieces. So, like, at this point, we just had to brute force the puzzle, because there was no clear way of knowing what we had to do. And it even took the developers adding like this special crafting UI to like say, hey, you're at a crafting table, hey, you're at the Cold Forge, that suggests, hey, you can craft here. Like, literally, it took them saying that in order to figure out, like, we need to craft in there. And I also want to slightly blame Nogo for a bit of the problems that was caused, because he tried every single legendary weapon, but he didn't think to try, like, you know, normal weapons. But I guess it also makes sense just because, again, since there was no clear direction and we were referencing Sudaruska, it's not entirely difficult to think, oh hey, maybe we need legendary weapons to complete this weapon, and Sudaruska has a soul in it, so why couldn't Deirdre somehow inhabit this fusion weapon? And finally, the payoff. I think the payoff was handled, or just isn't that good. I mean, the joke weapon's really funny, and am I the only one who thinks this weapon could be really strong for a Link Strider? Is it just me? I don't know. But anyways, the payoff wasn't that good for like the actual weapon, not the joke weapon, just the actual weapon, the Dormant Witherblade. It's... I mean, the Dormant Witherblade isn't a bad weapon, it's just moreover the fact that it's underwhelming. All it is just a critical that will instant grip people when they hit 0 HP, and it applies Wither to the opponent. That's it. Like, there's no, like, clear indication that Deirdre's soul is even in the weapon, or if Deirdre is even in the Cold Forge. To me, this weapon suggests that we made an offering to the Dormant Splinter, with Umbral, a weapon, and a soul, and it simply consumed all of them and became its own living thing. Like, the Dormant Splinter's the heart, the Umbral is, like, the skeletal structure, or, like, the skin, the sword is the freaking body, and Deirdre's soul was, like, the actual living part, and all of them got consumed into the weapon. What's something I would have done to make this, like, at all better? Number one, give Deirdre, like, an actually decent ending, like, suggest, like, oh, their soul is scattered and fractured within the forge, and we need to, like, do something to reconstruct her soul so she could take over the Dormant Splinter and make, like, that weapon she wanted to make, so she could actually be, like, Sudaruska. You know, like, maybe using, like, lotuses. And instead of them becoming, like, scarlet lotuses, like, with, Link Strider, they become, like, some new, different variant of lotus, the fucking cold heart lotuses or something. And we use those cold heart lotuses alongside a weapon and the Dormant Splinter, bada bing bada boom, Deirdre takes over. Maybe even using a different ore like Aerosaur, since Aerosaur I'm pretty sure is linked more to Ether, while Umbral is linked more to the depths, shadow magic and all that. I don't know, that's just like a little side ramble. It's just like, just something like that would have made the mystery a lot more fulfilling, I want to say, because, like, again, the mystery now just isn't that amazing, and if you want to hunt for the weapon, sure, why not go for it? I can't tell you not to, just, like, do Ferryman, that's what I did. But, again, it's just not that satisfying. It's not that satisfying of a conclusion, it's not that satisfying of an ending, and it's just, like, there's some things that could have been handled a lot better. And if you agree, go on, just like tell the devs that, because I believe two-way communication between developers and their community is really helpful for this game's longevity, especially right now at a point where developers are leaving Deepwoken and less people are there to work on the game. Like, specifically, Archmage seems to be the only one dedicated to the game. Now, I'll talk about types in the future. There might not even be a video next week because it's the holidays. I have stuff I have going on. But either way, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing the video because it helps out small content creators like me get their name out there. That's all I have to say. You have a good one. Peace.